I miss cooking, you know, I miss...
Mama, unafanya nini?
Sunu unanikiosha fridge.
Ile chakula ilikuwa kumeka wapi?
Nimetupa.
What? Kwa nini umetupa chakula mama?
De algún juego que quieres ganar sin tener piedad. ¿Quién eres tú?
Evening to you. Great, thanks for joining us. This is Channel 1 News Hour. And tonight, there is a commission that had commissioners before the 8th of August 2017 general elections. And now it is about 4 commissioners less, only 3 that are remaining in that commission. We're talking about the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. 3 commissioners have handed their resignation today, which leaves Wafula Chebukati, the chairperson, Professor Abdi Guliye and Boya Mulu as the only commissioners at the IEBC.
Well, anniversary towers appearing to be tumbling, and that is forming the basis of our interactive segment tonight with the resignation of 3 commissioners. Earlier on, we had seen another commissioner resigning, and we are asking you today, should IEBC be disbanded? Should IEBC be disbanded? 22162 is the SMS line. Let us know who you are and where you're texting us from on social media. Twitter at KBC Channel 1, my Twitter handle at Katwa Chenga, and of course for John at J Curia. Should IEBC be disbanded?
And of course, that is also the big question tonight. And on Perspective tonight, we'll be engaging lawyer, lawyer Stephen Mugaka, a constitutional expert, and the whole conversation about the legality of the 3 commissioners now in office and whether the IEBC can still function with the 3 commissioners, as well as nominated MP Godfrey Osoti from the ANC party. It's both a political and legal question. We shall be looking at that a little bit later, but for now, the highlights.
Commission boardroom has become a venue for peddling money, misinformation, grounds for brewing mistrust, and a space for scrambling for and chasing individual glory and credit.
Things fall apart. Trouble at anniversary towers as 3 IEBC commissioners quit.
To increase the items from 30,000 to 34,000 was made. Even the Auditor General accepts that the decision was not made by the Secretariat or the Chief Executive Officer, but was made by the Commission.
BVR kit probe. Former electoral body chiefs trade accusations of a procurement of equipment for 2013 polls.
Tributes for a fallen hero. Leaders eulogize Kenneth Stanley Jindo Matiba as a democracy defender. Steve Dunde is a sign language interpreter. My name is John Jacob Curia. A warm welcome to this bulletin.
My name is Catherine Chenga. Let's focus on the events that shaped the day today.
And now the leadership crisis at the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, deepened today with the resignation of 3 more commissioners.
Now the trio Vice Chair, Consolata Nkatha Maina, Margaret Mochanya and Paul Kurgat stated in a joint statement that they had no confidence in their chairman, Wafula Chebukati.
This leaves the commission with only 3 commissioners, including Chebukati.
Here are the details.
After Commissioner Roslyn Akombe's resignation on 18th of October last year, 8 days to the October 26, 2017 repeat presidential poll, there appeared to be relative calm in the goings-on at the IEBC. However, that did not last long, as last week the High Court declined to issue orders to reinstate IEBC CEO Ezra Chiloba, whom the IEBC chair Wafula Chebukati had sent on a 3-month compulsory leave a week ago. Chebukati's explanation that the disciplinary action against Chiloba had been sanctioned at IEBC's plenary did not seem to mend the rift in the electoral body.
Ready?
And today, the rift widened with the resignation of 3 commissioners. Vice Chair Consolata Nkadha Maina, Margaret Mwachanya and Paul Kurgat claim the IEBC under the leadership of Wafula Chebukati is dysfunctional.
The institution has continued to be dysfunctional with arbitrary decision-making, leaking of internal documents to serve personal goals, and pursuing of personal interests.
At a press conference on Monday morning, the trio father said external players had encroached on the Commission's independence.
Under his leadership, the Commission boardroom has become a venue for peddling money, misinformation, grounds for brewing mistrust, and a space for scrambling for and chasing individual glory and credit.
They faulted Chiloba's removal, saying it is a weighty matter that should not have been treated lightly.
The removal of a Commission CL secretary is a weighty matter and is one that should not have been introduced as a by the way. At the same time, the Commission had a fixed date for its meeting, and the meeting of April 6th should have taken place on April 12th, when all 6 commissioners were in the country.
In a brief statement, IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati said he learned of the exiting of the 3 commissioners in media reports and that he had not formally received their resignation. He, however, fell short of issuing his position on allegations made against him. The resignation of the 3 leaves the Commission with only 3 commissioners, that is Chebukati, Professor Abdi Yakub Gulie and Boya Molu.
Quite an interesting one. On the 18th of October 2017, Roslyn Akombe resigned from the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Count how many months later? That's about 6 months later. 3 commissioners have exited from the IEBC. Looks like IEBC may remain a shell.
Not forgetting that the CEO is currently on 3-month compulsory leave.
Absolutely.
Well, a lot is happening at IEBC, and that is what is forming the basis of our interactive segment tonight. Should IEBC be disbanded? In your opinion, should IEBC be disbanded? The SMS line 22162. Let us know who you are and where you're texting us from. Don't forget to leave us a brief comment on social media, Twitter at KBC Channel 1, my Twitter handle at Katwaching, and of course for John at J Curia.
Absolutely. The question again is, should the IEBC be disbanded? As the channels provided to you by Catherine Ochenga, 22162. There's our SMS line. Of course, be kind to tell us who you are and where you're watching us from. But of course, remember, this will also be forming the basis of our conversation tonight with our guests tonight. Be sure to catch up with that. But in the meantime, let's perhaps have a chronology on where this crisis or where the rain started beating the IEBC.
Indeed, now the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission appears to have dived into turbulent waters days after its Chief Executive Officer Ezra Chiloba was hounded out of office. It has since become clear that the move did not have the blessings of the whole commission after 3 commissioners of the electoral agency resigned in protest. Monday's resignation follows that of former Commissioner Roslyn Akombe, who quit days to the October 2017 repeat presidential polls. Eric Begon looks at the sequence of events leading to the present crisis at the electoral agency.
Shortly before the October 2017 repeat presidential poll, IEBC Commissioner Roslyn Akombe announced her resignation from the electoral agency. The Chief of Policy Planning and Guidance at the UN cited lack of independence among commissioners as the main reason for her departure.
It had reached a point where I did not feel that my contributions were making any impact really in the process in Kenya, and that I felt that somebody else could take that position and be able to carry on with the work. As you heard Chairman Chebukati himself speak today, he expressed what his frustrations have been in leading the commission, in being unable to make decisions without consensus, in being unable to have his motions really passed because there are some commissioners who continue to resist any attempts to make reforms in the commission.
Ever since then, there have been signs that not all was well at Anniversary Towers. Cracks at the IEBC began to emerge after it was rumored that the commissioners were not reading from the same page on a number of issues touching on operations. But the commission continued to hold together until recently, when the chair Wafula Chebukati ordered an internal audit into procurement of election technology used in the 2017 general elections. On 6th April this year, Chebukati chaired a plenary meeting which discussed the audit report. The chair and 2 other commissioners would subsequently decide through a vote to send Chief Executive Officer Ezra Chiloba on 3 months compulsory leave. Chiloba then went to court seeking to overturn the decision, but the embattled CEO suffered a setback when the Employment and Labor Relations Court declined his plea.
The dispute presented to court reveals a complex clash between the powers of an employer as an employer under the common law and constitutional and statutory protections afforded public officers in this jurisdiction.
To forestall further divisions from the electoral agency, Chebukati had called for a crisis meeting this week, but the coming together could not materialize. 3 commissioners, Consolata Ngatha Maina, who is also the vice chair, Margaret Mwachanya, and Paul Kurgat, who were in Chiloba's corner, resolved to quit. At this point, it appears the center cannot hold, as the electoral body is now split. Eric Biegon reporting for Channel 1 News.
Still on the IEBC circus, the blame game over the procurement of the failed BVR kits in 2013 played out before the National Assembly Public Accounts Committee, with the former chairperson Isaac Hassan accusing the then James Oswago-led secretariat of the controversial procurement. Oswago, who appeared before the committee, instead shifted blame to the Isaac Hassan-led team, whom he accused of interfering in the tendering process. Kevin Washira has the details.
The controversial procurement of the BVR kits continues to haunt current and former staff of the electoral body. Former IEBC Chief Executive Officer James Oswago was the first to appear before Public Accounts Committee to explain why the commission allegedly opted to purchase an additional 4,000 kits arbitrarily.
Even the Auditor General accepts that the decision was not made by the Secretariat or the Chief Executive Officer, but was made by the commission.
As we go in step by step,
yes.
Oswago,
yeah.
Who was the chairperson of the commission that time?
Isaac Hassan.
Mr. Isaac Hassan.
Yes.
And this plenary decision was made in the context of a formal commission meeting.
Absolutely formal. Not one meeting. There are about 3 meetings.
I've never involved with the commission has never involved itself with the vendors.
At the minute,
we will get. Yeah, I remember one day when they came to present, but they will come with management. They don't come there on their own. When we have a meeting of the commission, management presents, and I think if you refer to those minutes properly, all of them, the full minutes, you realize that there was always a management paper which came before a discussion was made. And if I recall, it was the management which said that there were actually 4,000 polling stations and not 30,000, and there was need to increase that number.
Allegations that the former chairperson Isaac Hassan denied when he appeared before the MPs. Oswago absolved himself from the scandal, saying he declined to pay the pending bill for supply of the AVID because the invoice had been inflated by 600 kits that were to be supplied as spare but were not supposed to be paid for. According to Oswago, the bill of 250 million shillings for the extra electronic voter identification kits was paid by suspended Chief Executive Officer Ezra Chiloba. When Chiloba appeared before the committee a fortnight ago, he attributed his decision to pay the pending bill to an advisory by Treasury's auditors.
We are therefore urging the Auditor General to expedite the process and have the final report submitted to Parliament without further delay. This would enable us as a committee to delve into the matters of the accounts of 2016-17 in relation to the IBC.
You have a time for us to take our first breather on Channel 1 News Hour. But before we do that, Kate, we can actually take about 2 responses from Mobi Question Tonight, where we asked you, should the IBC be disbanded? And I see Nicodemus Situai Andere from Molo, who says IBC's disbandment is overdue. They have been reading from different scripts while serving different political masters from Jubilee and NASA. You have anything on your end? Yes, the IBC has nothing to do. That is Elijah Gitonga from Meru, and somebody also thinks that it's a very weighty matter. Probate.
This one saying the IBC commissioners should have been disbanded long ago. It is a big shame to Kenyans. That is from Madam Folox Sate. I don't know what that name is.
Absolutely. I think it's time for us to take a breather, but of course when we come back, we will be talking to Godfrey Osotsi, who is a nominated member of parliament on the ANC party, as well as Wakili Steve Mogaka. And again, it's a political and a legal question.
Well, so stay tuned for that after this break.
Every 4 minutes is a chance for you to win big with Mega Dollar. Just go to Lipa na M-Pesa, enter paybill number 295888, account name KBC, and amount from 10 shillings or more. Then select your 10 numbers from 1 to 80 and send to 29588. You can win up to 30 million shillings. Start playing now and win. Mega Dollar. Big winners every 4 minutes.
This week on KBC Channel 1.
Elena! Elena! Elena!
My daughter will die. Now the little rag doll is mine! No! No!
I really want to have my life back. I miss cooking, you know. I miss...
Mama, unafanya nini?
So unaona nikiosha fridge.
Ile chakula ilikuwa kumeka.
Nimetupa.
What? Kwa nini umetupa chakula mama?
He read the diagnosis. To me, it was pure French.
They were cancerous. I want to have my life back. I miss cooking, you know. I miss... I miss so much. Right now, I can't remember the last time I ever got a pair of shoes, because I think that must have been in 2016, which must have been Batangoma, yeah. The whole of 2017, I haven't even bought myself anything. That's the truth.
Mega Dollar.
Nilikuwa nina watch show, alafu kuna ile number special 10 zilipeanwa pale. Alafu baadaye nikatangazwa kuwa mimi ndio mshindi. Naso laba mtaani niko na kiosk kangu pale. Yenye nimeshinda nda boost ile kiosk yangu iko kubwa kidogo, na wasi mcheze. Mega Dollar ni ya ukweli.
Nawe pia cheza ushinde leo. Top up kwa paybill number 295888 uanzie sasa.
Well, and it's time for perspective, and the conversation tonight is about the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and the resignation of the 3 commissioners of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, and that is Consolata Nkadha Bucha Maina, and you also have Margaret Mwachanya and Ambassador Paul Kurgat. But obviously, for quick starters into this conversation, the 3 commissioners had this to say about the chairperson, and they said the removal of a CEO, that is Ezra Chiloba, is a weighty matter, and saying Chebukati suspended the CEO unilaterally. And they accused also some members of the commission of leaking confidential documents for personal gain, and also arguing that the commission boardroom was a venue for peddling misinformation, grounds for mistrust, space for scrambling for, and chasing personal glory. But then at the heart of it is the suspension of Ezra Chiloba of a procurement related to the 2017 general election. But it appears like the troubles for the IEBC started even way before 2017, because at the heart of another procurement scandal, so to say, is the former IEBC leadership, Isaac Hassan, the chairperson, and the former CEO, James Oswago. And to help me deal with the legal as well as the political question are 2 gentlemen in studio. Lawyer Stephen Mogaka, who is a long lost analyst, but then he is back now. And we also have Godfrey Osotsi, a nominated member of the ANC, but who insists, well, at least by the decision made by the political parties tribunal, that he is the ANC Secretary General. So all of you are very much welcome.
Thank you.
Let's begin with the question of the legality of the commission as currently constituted. Wakili Steve Mogaka, can the IEBC and its commissioners, 3 of them now, conduct any legit business as it is?
Thank you. Sadly, yes, they can transact business because the IEBC Act provides that notwithstanding there being a vacancy within the membership of the commission, the commission will be deemed to be lawfully constituted and can transact business by either having 50% of the membership, rather the existing membership of the commission, subject to a minimum of 3. So since quorum for transacting business is 3, I think the remaining 3 commissioners can transact business unless somebody moved to court and declared the chairman not a commissioner for purposes of interpreting that particular section, because the section provides that the quorum shall be 3 commissioners. Now the ball is in the air, and it really now requires that a Kenyan moves to court to ask the court to interpret whether that section contemplates that the chairman shall be counted as one of the commissioners, and therefore to get to the number of 3 that is required to transact.
Honorable Osotsi, with the tensions and the simmering rows in that particular commission, all the way from, after the conduct of the 8th of August general elections, were you surprised by the resignation of the 3 commissioners today?
Well, personally, and I think it's most Kenyans, I was not surprised because before this decision today, we have seen a lot of drama at IEBC. First of all, you saw the letter from Chebukati to Chiloba, the internal memo, what it said about a lot of issues at IEBC, procurement issues, issues to do with procedure, issues to do with corruption, were all in that letter. Later on, we saw Chebukati himself denouncing that letter and saying that he never said that, but it was already in the public domain. Then in October last year, there was that surprising resignation of Roslyn Akombe, who resigned and fled to the US. Of course, a lot of revelation about the conduct at IEBC. Then recently we saw the compulsory leave
what we saw, Chiloba had been sent on leave on allegation of procurement issues.
Yeah.
And it came out that some commissioners were not happy, they were not involved. So today's decision of the 3 commissioners to resign was not a surprise, and it is a climax of what we have been saying, especially us as members of NASA, that there is a serious problem with the IEBC.
That needs fixing.
And the credibility of IEBC is an issue that we have to look at.
Absolutely.
We went into the election in August with that challenge, and we saw what happened. We saw what happened in October election. So this is actually an anticlimax for this IEBC.
And we'll talk about, moving forward in terms of how this commission can be repaired. But Magaga, you have the CEO already on what you would, however you want to term it, whether it's leave or suspension in itself, and you also have now a commission that has 3 commissioners. And the intent of even the IEBC Act, even as it was amended, was to ensure there's a clear demarcation between the role of the commissioners as well as the roles of the secretariat. But there always appears to be a clash between the secretariat and the commissioners. Do you think it has been, our short-sightedness that has led to this lacuna?
Yes and no, because there is supposed to be a very clear dichotomy between the commission and the secretariat. And it was contemplated that it is the secretariat that would run the day-to-day business of the commission, while the commissioners would deal with the policy issues and advisory issues. But where we stand now, it looks like Chebukati or the chair appears to be an executive chairman, essentially having executive authority within the commission. And that is where clarity lacks, and therefore there is always an interface or a conflict between the roles of the secretariat and the commission. But truth be said, the only office that is recognized in the law is that of the chairman, the deputy chairman, and the secretary. So whatever we are calling the secretariat, those are really employees of the commission, and therefore they are subservient and subordinate to the authority of the commissioners, and particularly the chair.
Absolutely. So looking at the issues here, because you have a situation where, when 3 commissioners resign, but you have the chairperson, Boya Mulu, and Professor Abdi Guliye on one side, and then you have these other 3 commissioners on one side, that is Kadabucha Maina, Margaret Mwachanya, and you also have Ambassador Paul Kurgat. Would you say that there's political interference in the commission?
Honestly, from where I sit, I read politics.
All right.
In this whole thing. First of all, the Jubilee side tried to make amendments into the IEBC and Election Act, you remember. And very recently the court threw out those amendments. And then yesterday you had the unsolicited voices talking about the amendment to the Constitution. And then today this happens. So you have a situation where you have 3 commissioners who have resigned, you have 3 commissioners who are remaining in office, and as Wakili says, the 3 commissioners can legally transact business. Because according to Article 250 of the Constitution of Kenya, an independent commission like the IBC, you need between 3 to 9 commissions to make it a commission. So as currently constituted legally, according to the Constitution, the 3 commissioners,
it's good you talk about legal legitimacy.
Yeah.
But would you say the 3 of them have political legitimacy?
I'm coming to that.
All right.
Legally, they, according to the Constitution and according to the relevant acts of Parliament, they can can continue performing their roles. But IBC as currently constituted lacks credibility, public trust and credibility. And therefore, as it is now, even in Parliament where I sit, if any petition comes to Parliament to petition these three individuals under Article 251 of the Constitution, it will sail through. Because under Article 251 of the Constitution, there are about 4 grounds for one to be removed as a commission of an independent commission. One is a gross violation of the Constitution and the law. 2 is a physical and mental incapacity. 3 is the issue of incompetence, and 4 is bankruptcy. If you look at all those grounds, clearly the issue of incompetence will come in, and the issue of gross violation of the law and the Constitution will come in. So chances are that the petition, if well presented to Parliament, it will go through, and the President will be obligated to set up a tribunal to investigate the 3.
Absolutely.
So the best thing they can do, Chebukati and his 2 other commissioners, they will save this country a lot of pain by resigning.
All right. And that is a question I want to go through to Steve Mogaka. Before we do that, of course, a reminder of a big question tonight. We are asking you, should the IEBC be disbanded? In your opinion, should the IEBC be disbanded? 22162 is our SMS line. Tell us what you think, your name and where you're texting us from. And also on Twitter at KBC Channel 1 at JCuria. But of course, there's that question on resigning. And there appears to be a tandemity in terms of opinion from the minority side and the majority side in Parliament. The minority leader in the Senate, that is the Honorable James Orengo, has said the other commissioners should forthwith resign. And I will use his words, the IEBC is cursed. Kipchumba Murkomen, the majority leader, still in the Senate, says they should resign, or the Parliament will form a tribunal to investigate them. And obviously, like you've had Honorable Osotsi, tell about the procedures on which to remove them from office. Is it a question we should be conversing at this point?
I highly doubt, because I think we are seeking to close the staple when the horse is long bolted. The recent chorusing about the resignation of the remaining 3, if you asked me, is very, very dishonest, because time and time again before we went to the election, there were very, very serious challenges about the credibility of the IEBC. Yet the people shouting now about the resignation of the remnant commissioners, some of them really ring-fenced the very commission and commissioners, knowing as they did that they had very serious credibility challenges. But all said and done, the question now of subjecting the remaining commissioners to a petition, as my honorable member has said, is a case that has got to be dealt with on its merit. Because you really need to prove incompetence, you really need to prove gross misconduct or gross violation of the Constitution of the 3 remaining commissioners as individuals. But all said and done, what is of more urgency now is whether or not the 3 remaining commissioners resign. I do hope that those who say they resigned actually tendered their resignations to the president, because that is the requirement in law. You don't give a press conference. That does not constitute in law a resignation.
And Chebukati says he has also not received any notice.
Exactly. So these might be musical chairs from those 3 commissioners trying to test the waters and see how Kenya will react. So if, as we suspect, they are courageous to submit their resignations to the president, then the law requires that their replacement commences immediately. And therefore, if we succeed in replacing these 3, I do hope that whether the remaining Chebukati...
It should be four because Rosalie Nakombe also resigned.
Rosalie Nakombe also ought to have been replaced long ago. And this is why I say that I think we are not honest in our fidelity to the law, because 6 months down the road, Rosalie Nakombe has not been replaced. I think we are doing very, very badly. Absolutely. Yeah, and really what as a nation we require, because they are required to start dealing with the very critical issues of boundary review of the electoral units. And we cannot transact that.
And with a potential for a referendum.
With a potential for a referendum. But who knows, now that the court did not protect Chebukati, who knows whether these resignations are actually supposed to derail the process of dealing with Chebukati. Who knows whether these resignations are meant to sabotage a referendum if there were to be one. Who knows? I can't agree more with the Honorable Sosi that really this is politics being played out, and let's watch how it unfolds.
You will remember days before the 26th of October when there were serious doubts on whether this election would happen. The chairperson of the IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, coming out and saying, I'm issuing a yellow card to all presidential candidates and saying, if they don't stop, I am going to resign. And from that, you found a situation where the commission was seriously divided, because that is what he was alluding to. Shouldn't he have resigned then?
Well, one thing that is very clear is Chebukati and his commissioners are very insincere.
They are insincere.
Very insincere. If you look at the events from last year to now, you clearly see that we are dealing with people who are very insincere. And when you have an electoral commission with commissioners who are very insincere, then you are in trouble as a country. So that's why we are saying the best Chebukati and his 3 colleagues can do to save Kenyans a lot of pain is for them to resign. Us in NASA, we are looking at this issue differently from the way Jubilee is looking at it. And it is important for Kenyans to know that NASA now is absolved from blame, because we didn't go into an election, repeat election in October.
Even when your party leader says that it's Raila Odinga who made a unilateral decision to withdraw from the election?
He was not truthful, and I will come to that.
You are contradicting your party leader.
Yes, that one I can say, because you remember there was a joint statement they all signed. All the principals signed a statement of pulling out from the repeat election. So we should not go there, because it is a signed documentary evidence. So we did not go into the October election on the basis that we could not have gone into an election with an electoral commission that is compromised, with an electoral commission that is not independent. And clearly it has come out that really we have serious issues at the commission. So us in NASA, we are saying we need a clean sweep. And it is not just about...
Does that include the secretariat also?
Yes, we don't just talk about replacement of commissioners, because this is the 3rd time we are replacing the commissioners. Remember, we replaced Kivutu and his team. We came and also replaced Hassan and his team, bringing these people. And now we want again to replace them. So we must look at this issue from a wider perspective and see institution, what are the things that are missing. And that is why we in NASA talk about electoral justice. And comprehensive electoral reforms. That is what we want.
There's a question.
And just before you come in, the political angle. I think NASA, we are looking at this thing differently from Jubilee. There are some people within the Jubilee who have started misinterpreting the handshake between Honorable Raila Odinga and Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta. They have started thinking about maybe the handshake was about constitutional review. So when you see some of these things happening at the IBC, could be an agenda to derail any possible referendum. No one has talked about the what is contained in the handshake.
And you know,
let us give our leaders time
to do that,
to tell us what is it that they wanted in the handshake.
Good. Mogaka, as you respond to that very quickly, because I'm under pressure to wind up, as you respond to that very quickly, also talk about how do we ensure that the IEBC is insulated from political interference. And there's also this question, why is the chairman always appearing to throw the secretariat under the bus?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to pick the cue from Mheshimiwa and to be fair to Jebukati and these commissioners without holding their brief. They really needed to stay put and give Kenya an election, irrespective of the quality of the election. A bad election is really better than no election at all, because this country was facing a crisis that would have thrown us into uncertainty and a constitutional crisis. So bad as they are, let us also give them credit that these commissioners came into office too late in the day to adequately prepare and give Kenya an election that was flawless. Be it as it may, yes, they served their purpose then. Maybe they have learned from the mistakes and they really need then to be given time to serve their full term. But coming to your specific questions, as I indicated earlier, the chairman of the commission is a statutory and actually constitutional office. And therefore, ultimately, the buck stops with him. You can remember from the late Kivuitu, Isaac, Hazen, and now Chebukati, the buck ultimately stops with the chairman. And it is incumbent upon the chairman to do what it takes to put the secretariat on check and on the spot. And I know currently now the question on the table is about the procurement that were taking place before the 2017 election. And really, at the end of the day, if the auditor has submitted a report that points fingers at certain members of the executive, it is only fair that they step aside and they go and face scrutiny.
Absolutely.
And that does not amount to throwing anybody under the bus. In fact, because the matter is alive in court, we need not talk too much about it. But since our CEO has sought court's protection, we do trust that justice will be done and be seen to be done.
Absolutely. I'll give you 30 seconds because my director tells me to wind up. 30 seconds to tell us why you insist that you're the ANC Secretary General even after your party leader disowned you and named Barack Muluka as the ANC Secretary General.
My friend, I don't want to use the word insist.
Yes.
Political parties are managed as per their constitution, as per the Political Parties Act, and as per the constitution of this country. Those are the key three instruments of management of political parties. And therefore political parties must be managed within that. Political parties are not private entities. They are public institutions which must follow the law. I do not have a personal issue with my party leader. I have an ideological difference with him on the issues of, one, adherence and fidelity to the law of political parties. Two, matters of strategy. Those are the two issues I have an issue with. Barack Muluka is my friend. I have no problem with him. But he's someone I respect a lot. He's a learned person. He comes to these studios and analyzes things for you, but he knows the truth. The law must be followed. And I don't want to go beyond that because the matter is in court.
All right. Fantastic. But obviously there was a political parties tribunal that nullified Barack Muluka's appointment as Secretary General of the ANC. And of course, we're going to wait for the same. But in the meantime, the situation at Anniversary Towers continues to call for the monitoring of the media. And that is what we will be doing. The chairperson said he had not received any communication from the IEBC commissioners on their resignation. Maybe tomorrow he will be able to issue a comprehensive statement and we'll be following up on the same. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure hosting hosting it tonight, and your contributions very much appreciated, and hoping we can do this more as the matters unfold. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta is in the United Kingdom to attend the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. While in London, the head of state is expected to hold talks on how to strengthen diplomatic relations and boost trade and investment ties between Kenya and the other 52 Commonwealth member nations.
The plane ferrying the president left the GKIA at 10 a.m. for London. President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to attend the biennial meeting of leaders from the 53 Commonwealth member countries. A communication from State House stated that the head of state was on a mission to strengthen the country's trade and diplomacy within the bloc. But this is not the only agenda. The president will also pursue cooperation in the area of security and regional development. State House spokesperson Manoa Esipisu further disclosed that the president will visit London Stock Exchange, where he will meet investors and subsequently share areas of investment with key focus on the Big Four agenda. This year's summit is focused on promoting prosperity, safety, sustainability and fairness with the theme towards a common future. Juliet Masinde reporting for Channel 1 News.
Good evening. Now we focus on matters business. I'm Regina Manyara Gitao. The government will launch construction of 30,000 low-cost houses in Nairobi Eastlands area in the next 3 months. The Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company will be established within the next month to facilitate the housing projects that are under the Big Four plan.
President Uhuru Kenyatta earmarked affordable housing as one of his key development priorities under the Big Four plans. This is expected to help bridge the annual 200,000 housing units deficit. In this regard, the government will launch construction of 30,000 housing units in Nairobi's Eastlands area. The low-cost housing projects will include putting up 5,000 houses in Shauri Moyo, 20,000 houses in Makongeni, and 3,000 houses in Starehe, and 2,000 houses in Park Road estates.
Affordable housing is taking root in Nairobi. Is a breaking of ground on Park Road for 2,000 units of affordable housing, which should happen within the next 3 months, as well as 5,000 houses in Shauri Moyo, 20,000 houses in Makongeni, and 3,000 houses in Starehe.
Construction of the 2,000 housing units in Parklands will start in 3 months' time, while the Shauri Moyo, Makongeni and Starehe houses will kick off within 6 months. The government will also set up the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company within the next month to facilitate the projects.
Already you've had discussions around the setup of the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company to help with bonds for affordable housing.
The team leading the regeneration of Nairobi has given itself a timeline of 6 months to undertake the project.
Investors are shunning government short-term papers, opting for papers with long-term tenure due to better yield. The Central Bank of Kenya says the 91 and 182-day treasury bills continue to attract low subscription compared to the 364-day bills, which have been oversubscribed in their recent offers. The average one-year bill has a return of 11% compared to 8% for the 3-month and 6-month bill.
The government securities market performance showed investors' preference for longer dated securities last week, majorly driven by better returns on papers with a longer tenor. The Central Bank weekly report shows that while the 91-day and the 182-day Treasury bills were undersubscribed, the 364-day Treasury bills were oversubscribed. In the week, the government offered 3-month Treasury bills worth 4 billion shillings, with investors offering 1.7 billion shillings. The 6-month securities also attracted low subscription, with investors snapping up 7 billion shillings of the 10 billion shillings that was on offer. The average interest rates offered for the two instruments stand at 8.5%, a drop from the 12% they were fetching in the past. However, the 1-year Treasury bills received bids amounting to 12 billion shillings against the offer of 10 billion shillings, forcing the bank to take the extra money in to cover for the shortfalls in the short-term papers. As a composition of state domestic debt, Treasury bills stand at 33%, or 767 billion shillings of the total debt owed by the state to the local investors as of today morning. Treasury bonds forms the lion's share of the government domestic debt at 1.55 trillion shillings, or 66% of the government's total domestic debt. Currently, the total portfolio of the government's domestic debt stands at 2.3 trillion shillings.
Now, after the tourism slump in 2008, some investors diversified into farming in efforts to secure their livelihoods. One such investor is Papu Harun, who, despite lacking in agri-training, ventured into the manufacturing of moringa oil and powder. Harun exports moringa oil to the United States and other parts of the world. Here's his story. The Kenyan coastline is renowned for its scenic beaches. As such, tourism activities thrive. However, due to a slump experienced in the sector in 2008, several establishments had to close shop. Harun Papu owned a beach resort in Uyombo, Kilifi County. But due to the unfavorable conditions for tourism activities, he ventured into manufacturing of moringa oil and powder and has never looked back since.
We are effectively dealing with one of the biggest recession-proof industries in the world. That is beauty and cosmetics. What we call the supply chain that supplies ingredients to the cosmetics industry, including what they call body oils, massage oils, body butters, including even in the perfume industry.
He engaged with the vulnerable in society to grow moringa, and he says his fortunes are big.
Nilijua huu mradi wa moringa, nilijua kwa sababu nilikuja hapa hospitali wakati nilikuwa mgonjwa. Tulipopanda huu moringa ndio tukawa tunaendelea mpaka sasa, ndio tunaona kwamba huu moringa unatupatia faida. Japokuwa si nyingi, lakini kuna msaada ambao tunapata kupitia huu moringa.
The seeds are collected from farmers and taken to an oil pressing machine operated by women engineers who have been trained on various skills to manage the operations on the farm.
Kwenye wale ambao wamama mabwana wao walipita, inatusaidia kiuchumi hata nyumbani. Watoto wetu wanaenda shule, tunakula vizuri, hata kama sile vizuri sana, but zile shida zenye tulikuwa tunaziface kule nyuma kabla hatujaingia hapa, tunaona tunazisolve.
After sorting and removing the husks from the seeds, they are taken into a pressing unit through a cage screw, where they are pressed, allowing the oil to flow down into a collection point to settle and later filter and packed into containers for shipping. For every liter or kilogram of oil produced, 6 to 5 kgs of seeds are pressed, depending on the quality of seeds. Currently, they are working on a project to supply 15 tons of oil to exports to markets amounting to 750,000 kilos of seeds, with 1 liter of moringa oil fetching up to 10,000 shillings.
That's 75,000 kilos of seeds required to fulfill just one customer order to the United States.
Harun targets to engage 1,000 farmers in the project by 2022. Well, it's a wrap as far as matters business is concerned. Katrina Chenga is up next with what has been happening in the sporting world. I'm Regina Manyera Gitawa. Do have yourself a pleasant evening ahead.